Welcome back.
What a dumpster fire.
What?
We're doing 2?
Yeah, we're doing 2. This one doesn't have to be as long. However, we have to finish our conversation because now we're in the weeds. It's only 6:30.
Yeah.
Your wife is fine. My wife is sick at home, pregnant, laying on the couch with Sam, just waiting for Chick-fil-A. No big deal. Don't worry about it. My wife wants a cheat meal. But welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We switched seats yet again. We haven't moved. We're rolling into the conversation from last week, but we have our same sponsors. Addie's, thank you so much for being a continued logo drop in the bottom. And then we also have Queen City Creative Works, which Derek, hold it up. Boom. We can provide bottle openers, all the fun stuff. It's not even close to in focus. Just hold it that way. There you go. So silicone wrapped metal speed bottle openers that you would see in a bar. They are awesome and they are very efficient and effective. We offer those. We also offer branded water bottles and branded coasters. If you want, head over to queencitycreativeworks.com, scroll down to their shop now button, hit click now, and you can support 2 Buffalo local businesses that are very appreciative. So Queen City Creative Works, thank you so much for being a continued partner and sponsor of our show. We appreciate that. If you're new here, like, comment, subscribe, and leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc., just because it does help us grow and immensely helps us with our reach. So Derek, last week we were talking about wonderful things regarding movies. Now, the question from last week into this week, which is imperative that we answer, is how does a main character change the tune of a franchise or trilogy? Imagine if Daniel Radcliffe is no longer Harry Potter, right? Massive change to it. Now, if we change Jokers, or if we change Batmans, or if we change Supermans and Spider-Mans, what does that look like, right? Like Tobey Maguire was not the same Spider-Man through all Marvel, through all DC. So what did that look like? Personally, I think they did a really good job. They did a really good job incorporating all the different Spider-Mans into one movie at one time and brought people back to insert that nostalgia. However, when it comes to movies like Fast and Furious and James Bond, where are we at?
I feel like Fast and Furious is different, though, because they didn't really have a choice. So Paul Walker passes away. They then transition you're not even drinking anymore.
I'm literally drinking a spiked hard seltzer.
It's fake news. They transitioned the focus from Paul Walker and Vin Diesel's relationship to Vin Diesel and The Rock's relationship. So they didn't really have a choice. They
did, but they also never forgot, the Toretto's family relationship ties to the franchise.
Right. But the main protagonist / antagonist for the first 2 movies was Paul Walker versus Vin Diesel, like their friendship coming together. I wouldn't really call that necessarily an antagonist, but the next couple movies was the antagonist being The Rock and the main focus being Vin Diesel.
Well, I think a lot of that was because Paul Walker literally fell in love and ended up marrying and getting acceptance from Dominic, which is Vin Diesel.
Exactly. So I don't really think they had a choice to change characters because Paul Walker, no mo. Rip. Miss you, bud. But in situations where, what was that one movie? I think there was 3 of them. Never Back Down, was it? It was a fighting mixed martial arts movie or something like that, where a kid was racing a car and he was like getting into the racing scene but also fighting at the same time. I forgot. It was like a really weird indie movie kind of. But they changed main characters from the first to the second movie. And I immediately shut it off, and I didn't even give it a chance because I'm like, you can't do that. If you're going to change the main character, that's fine. But in my opinion, change their name. Don't try to throw me as Derek as in the first movie, and then the sequel to that, have you play Derek. Because no one's going to buy that.
Are you talking about Driver, or are you talking about that prison movie where they had to basically like drag race for freedom out of prison?
No, that was Death Race. Death Race. That was with Jason Statham, right?
He was in it, yes. Yeah. Death Race was a good movie. You're not talking about Driver? Mm-mm. I don't know what movie you're talking about, where the dude was fighting but also racing at the same time.
Yeah. Tuner driving movie with fighting, maybe?
I mean, they're probably going to pull a Fast and Furious as the first one for that search. I have no clue what movie you're talking about. I'm honestly curious.
It wasn't bad. Obviously, Fast and Furious is the first one. The Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift is the second one. This is not going to give me what I want.
Yeah, that's literally the storyline of Tokyo Drift.
Oh, I got to find it. I think it was with the dude in that was Dahmer. That was Jeffrey Dahmer in that show.
Oh,
I think
no
it was
kidding.
him. Yeah. I could be wrong, though.
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen that movie. And also, after like the first 12 seconds of Dahmer, I refused to watch any rest of it. Like, I just couldn't do it.
Never Back Down, was that it? Never Back Down was a fighting movie for sure.
Never Back Down was about mixed martial arts. It was not about racing. That was about, I can quote that movie.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. That actually, Never Back Down turned the tides for my very good group of friends down in the South Towns that did allow martial arts into their life in a way that nobody else has. I mean, Never Back Down was a very monumental movie for a lot of people very close to me. It was a super good movie anyways, but yeah, they were taking Krav, Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and boxing basically because that movie came out, and it allowed them to get the motivation personally to then indulge in, like, you know, companies like the Training Edge and Clarence and get belts, and then really just dive into and like pursue martial arts and like other local gyms to really get their belts.
So the movie I'm talking about is called Born to Race. You ever seen it?
Heard of it, did not see it.
Yeah. So Born to Race came out, and it wasn't with the dude from. First of all, have you ever seen Need for Speed, the movie with Aaron Paul?
Played every game.
Didn't
watch the movie.
Dude, you have to watch that movie. That movie was sick. Yeah, that movie was really cool.
Can we watch it together?
Hell yeah, dude. Obviously.
That's what I'm talking about.
So Born to Race came out in 2011, and it was with Joseph Cross. You know who Joseph Cross is?
What else was he in?
He's this kid.
Is that like the Spider-Man?
No, he's Untraceable, Running with Scissors. He's somewhat well known.
He looks familiar, but I don't know what I've seen him in. But I recognize his face. It's one of those.
Yeah, he's got like that very recognizable face. I don't know. I even know him from somewhere, but I can't figure out which one.
Right.
But it started off with him playing Danny Kruger. The whole storyline was, I think, that his dad used to race. He was like Kruger Sports, and his dad, I haven't watched this in so long, but his dad used to race, and I think his dad became an alcoholic and died in a drunk driving accident or something. So now the son is taking over the racing family name. And then these kids keep bringing up the fact that his dad died and wasn't a good racer, and then he would fight kids. It's like an elementary level racing movie, but regardless, they came out that movie, and then Born to Race 2 came out, and the same dude, Danny Kruger, but it was played by Brett Deverne, which doesn't look anything like the kid. So I turned on 2 seconds of this, and I'm like, what's going on? I don't mind if you don't include the main character in the sequel, but don't call it the same kid. Because if I went, and I'm binge watching, because obviously that's what we do nowadays, but if I watch Born to Race 1 at 11 a.m., and then I watch Born to Race 2 at 1:30 when Born to Race 1 is over, and it's the same character but different people, I don't like that, because now my mind's messed up. I don't like this new guy because I'm invested in this other kid playing Danny Kruger. Now I have to try to like this new Danny Kruger. It doesn't make sense to me. I just hate that whole idea.
That's fair. And it directly impacts not only all the fans, but it makes them question, like, why? Like, what was the original dude doing that he couldn't go to the second movie? Did he not buy in? What was the agent conversation? Why didn't that work? Because it could have been something awesome.
Yeah.
And they lost that opportunity. It's kind of sad, honestly.
Did you ever see, what's that other movie? Dude, there were so many racing movies with some smokes as like the main chick protagonist. What is it? Redline? Was it? Nadia something or another? Redline movie?
Did we even answer last week's question?
Well, that's kind of what we're getting at, and now I'm getting off track because I thought of Smokes, and I'm like, I need to find this chick again because I haven't seen her in a while. It's Nadia something or another.
It's kind of like when Megan Fox left Transformers. Megan Fox made Transformers, and then you bring in some different broad. Not the thing, not the move. We want what we want.
Yeah, red line.
And that's all people, all genders. I'm not talking just men.
Dude, that's her in that movie.
Yeesh.
Smoke, dude. I saw that in theaters, and I'm like, sorry, Trinity. If you haven't paid attention to last week, go check out last week because Trinity was probably my first. And then I saw this chick. I'm like, I got a new love.
It's almost like the wife in White Collar of...
Oh, Kelly Kapowski? Are you saying? Dude, Kelly Kapowski was my first, and she will always be. Sorry, Gina, but Kelly Kapowski gets it.
So, okay.
Are you getting into women? Because let's talk first about the topic of today's episode.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into female crushes.
Uh-huh.
If you say Topanga, so help me God, I'm walking out of this room. No one named Tapioca is ever on my top list.
Topanga was America's sweetheart. We all know that. However, as I aged, there's other people that took priority. Topanga's not off the list. She's still on the list, but there are people that we have to discuss in a very real manner, okay? Let's finish the first topic of today's episode, and then we'll get into the women that we love. That our wives know.
Oh, yeah.
That's their thing. Also,
Newsflash, my wife knows about Matt Bomer, so we're just saying there.
Matt Bomer is one of the best looking men I've ever seen in this universe.
I can't deny it. I saw him for the first time and I was speechless. I'm straight. I don't know if everyone knows this, but I saw him for the first time. I'm like, I don't know anymore.
When you're that good looking symmetrically and other male actors deny working with you in a movie because you're so good looking it throws them off, that's a real problem. We also have to talk about how Ryan Reynolds just made 1.3 or 1.5 billion from Mint being sold to T-Mobile.
Right. Huge.
Major moves.
Huge.
So, topic of this week's episode we'll hash out.
Yeah, so going back to the reason why we brought this up in the first place was because the whole Paul Walker thing, we understood, we talked about it a little bit. But other movies that this happens regularly without question, I feel, because I feel like it's part of the culture. And it's kind of like an initiation. Like if you're the Joker, if you get casted as the new Joker, you made it. Or if you get casted as the new James Bond, you made it. So there's these characters in these well-developed movies that have the same place, are the same name, but different actors. And I just don't like it. Because for me, if I'm watching Batman and I'm investing, again, it's all about investing and getting to know the character. Because for me, when I watch movies, I try to really relate and try to get to know the main characters, right? Like that's the whole point of watching a good movie. So when I'm spending time understanding Heath Ledger, and I understand Heath Ledger wasn't the original Joker, I get it, but in my opinion, I think he was one of the best. If I'm watching that and then I turn that off and then I watch another Batman movie, obviously without Heath Ledger, again, rip, but you get then Joaquin Phoenix, now I have to adjust, and I don't like the main characters changing.
And then you also have people like Paul Walker, the original Dumbledore. They passed away. Mm-hmm. And that directly impacts the franchise and the overall movie and the casting. And it's tough because then you got to pull guys like Gandalf and make him Dumbledore, from Lord of the Rings, because that's what happened. And the original Dumbledore from the first two movies was everything. When he passed away, and now you have, and luckily, right? And with grace, all things considered, you have guys like Professor Snape from Harry Potter that passed away after the movies were finished. And that, it's tough because we grew up with Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and the guy that plays Ron, right? Like, we grew up with those characters.
We don't even know his name.
I can't remember his name right now.
Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, whoever played Ron.
those three guys were monumental. I mean, or those three people were monumental, right?
It was funny.
Including Emma, but it's true. I mean, we grew up with these people, and that's why, to a sense, it was the same thing with Full House, Dawson's Creek, Boy Meets World, like Saved by the Bell. You know, if you weren't a Boy Meets World fan, you were a Saved by the Bell fan. It was just generations, right? And if you didn't have an older sibling of 3 years, you didn't watch Full House. You watched Boy Meets World. You watched, your generation's version of the same parental guidance and the same values and the same lessons. Like, that was, I mean, you and I are at the point now, early 30s, kid on the way, soon to be parents, right? Like, eventually you and Gina will have a kid. We're going to tap into that. We're going to tap into those shows to help our kids' development so that they learn the lessons that we might forget. Just time. Like, we might forget to teach them this. Like, watch this show. It'll fill in the gaps.
Right.
And those lessons taught by those shows are huge. Again, it takes a tribe, right? Like, raising a child is a whole separate episode, but those lessons are massive, and we're going to tap into that. That's why film and acting and all of Hollywood, like, is as politically dividing as Hollywood is to the rest of the world and etc. Whatever. That's, again, another topic for discussion,
Right.
But maybe it's a Patreon episode only. But you're seeing those same values as a massive impact in raising somebody and helping somebody grow up, and it helped us. I mean, it was on the TV when we grew up. I watched every episode of Boy Meets World.
Right.
Like Full House, same thing. Dawson's Creek, same thing. 90210 and like other random reality shows helped us see like right and wrong, true values, what's actually important, what really matters. The episode's going to hit rock bottom, and then at the end of the episode, it's going to be perfect, everything's all great and grand, and then we're going to hear the theme song, right? Like, it's going to end on a high note. It's teaching you those valleys and all of the aspects. Like, that is so powerful in someone's development.
So when somebody changes primary roles, like for Batman, there's been 7 different Batman. There have been 7 different Bruce Waynes in the entire series.
Yeah.
We have George Clooney. So I'm reading Den of Geek, hashtag not a sponsor, but Den of Geek rated the top 7 or the 7 Batman from best to worst.
Who has time for this?
I know, right? Dude, so many questions. The worst, they say in their opinion, was George Clooney. I feel like that is a situation where let's bring on a big actor just to get some people in. George Clooney was not a good Batman.
Which Batman was he? What years?
I don't know. Doesn't have that information.
You had to clear your throat into the mic? What a savage.
Number 6 is Val Kilmer.
Who?
Exactly. Number 5 is Ben Affleck.
Dude, how is he that high?
Number 4 is Adam West. Number 3 is Robert Pattinson.
Okay.
Number 2 is Michael Keaton. I like Michael Keaton. He was a great Batman. And number 1 is Christian Bale, which I think arguably is one of the best Batman. I think he is the best Batman. I agree with his list basically 100%.
I agree with this list 99%, and I understand the debate between the two. Between 1 and 2, I understand. I mean, they were so good at being Batman. The 1 and 2s, it's almost comparable.
Yeah. Christian Bale and Michael Keaton were fantastic. So those 7 changed. Let's go to all Jokers.
I still think Michael Keaton takes the top, though.
Really?
Yeah, I think 2 should be 1 and 1 should be 2.
I can see that argument. So in addition to 7 different people playing Batman, 6 different people have played the Joker.
1 has passed away from an OD.
Rip. Cesar Romero was one of them.
No clue who
He's
that
the
is.
last one. This is also from Den of Geek. Den of Geek, you have way too much time on your hands. The second is Jack Nicholson. These are going from worst to best. So 6th was 6th was Cesar Romero. 5th was Jack Nicholson.
Hold on, Jack Nicholson was a Joker?
Yeah, he was the Joker.
When?
I don't know. You can't ask these questions right now. No, hold on, let me find that.
Have you seen Good as It Gets?
No.
Oh, my God. How have you not seen Good as It Gets? That's such a fantastic movie.
1988?
Oh, way before. That was before my
yeah.
sister was born.
It was before I was even a thought, bro. So after him...
I was not even a sperm in my dad's nutsack.
After him was Mark Hamill. Don't really know who that is.
Nope.
After that is Heath Ledger, which I think is one of the best.
Rip.
Yeah. Joaquin Neiman, or not Joaquin Neiman, that's a golfer. Also a really good golfer. But Joaquin Phoenix is probably going to be number one. Because everybody loved him. Jared Leto is the second from the top. And then the first one is Joaquin Neiman. Or Joaquin Phoenix. I keep saying Joaquin Neiman. So I would probably move Heath Ledger up. I think that Heath Ledger was better than Jared Leto. Heath Ledger was so good, dude.
Heath Ledger's underrated as Joker. Well, nah, I can't say that. Heath Ledger is known as Joker.
Yeah, that's true.
He really is. And that and Brokeback Mountain. Those were his two roles. And then he had a Skittle Party, passed away. For those that don't know what a Skittle Party is, a Skittle Party is a mix of different pills. You just scoop your hand, take them all, and then your body does what your body does when you overdose on different pills. That's eventually how, essentially he passed away. He had
I do
a Skittle
that
Party.
with jelly beans. So
I do it with gummy bears.
So we had 7 Batmen. Is Batman plural? Is that Batmen or is that Batmans?
Ooh.
Right?
I would say Batmans.
Okay. But, that's weird because you can't put the apostrophe there because Batman doesn't own all these people. So it's Batman's plural.
Grammatically, it makes no sense, but I think we all are on the same wavelength.
All right, so we got 7 Batmans, 6 Jokers, and we have 6 James Bonds. So James Bonds, again, from least to best, is George Lazenby. Lazenby.
Who made this list?
Smooth Radio. You also have no time.
No sponsor.
No sponsor. George Lazenby. If you don't agree with this, don't come after us. We're just the messengers here. Number 5 is Roger Moore. These people are so old. Number 4 is Daniel Craig.
Don't agree.
Famous. Number 3 is Timothy Dalton. Number 2 is Pierce Brosnan. Okay, I can see. Dude, Pierce Brosnan not being number 1. Pierce Brosnan is who I think of when I think of James Bond.
Well, that's because we grew up playing GoldenEye.
Hell yeah, great. And Sean Connery number 1. All right. All right.
Sean Connery.
Clearly, we all know that this list is wrong. Pierce Brosnan is number 1. Daniel Craig is number 2. And everyone else is irrelevant. Now you can come after us. What is this list?
It's not that
Smooth Radio.
It's not that I speak for Derek. It's just that I speak for Derek.
What a trash list. Way off.
So, playoffs. We are who we thought they were.
So, in general, those movies, do you feel differently watching each one of them? Getting back to the original point, do you feel differently watching each one of them because the main characters are different?
Yes. Now, question on The Godfather. Do you
That's
think...
another one.
Are we good?
Or you press 3 instead of 2.
Whoa. Let me ask you something, Derek.
This interview is not going to get recorded.
This interview is getting recorded. You're going to have to do a lot of post-editing because it's a very important interview.
It is.
When you talk about The Godfather...
The
Godfather. How many are there?
How many Godfathers or how many movies?
Movies.
3.
Be real.
The second one is the best. But true Godfather fans know that there's 3. There's 3 movies. They're okay. The first and the third are okay. The second is where all the meat is. For me, it goes 2, 1, 3. But there's 3.
This is important to me. Okay? This conversation needs to please me. Because there's a lot of family...
What does Frankie say? Is there only one to him? Or is there none? Because neither of them owned a Rolex.
Do you want me to call him right now?
Yeah.
It's not about what Frankie says. What it is what my sister's feelings are with her husband.
Why? What does he say?
Hello, Michael.
Hi, sir. You're live right now on the Buffalo Happy Hour podcast.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. I need to know.
Put the camera on you. Come on, dude.
I need to know how many Godfathers are there? Are there 3 or are there 2?
There are 2.
Which ones are the 2 that matter?
Well, let me break this down in a couple different situations. Number one, there are 2 in the conventional sense. One, there's one anointed by the family that has an obligation to this Godfather to bring the child up in the way of the church and with a moral compass that matters to the family and so forth and all that kind of stuff. This is the one who goes to the first, religious ceremony of the parents choosing.
We're talking about the movies, by the way.
I thought we were talking about familial Godfathers.
No, the movies, The Godfathers. How many are there?
How many Godfather movies are there? Well,
He doesn't know the context.
Let me think about this. Hold on a second. There are 3 Godfather movies. However, what I would it's a trilogy, right? So there's 3. However, I don't necessarily count third one as one.
Same with my sister and her husband.
And same with me.
And same with
I
Darren.
consider them all Godfather movies, but my order would be 2, 1, 3.
Do you agree with that, Frankie?
I vehemently disagree with many things that Derek has said. But that is something that I agree with.
Thank you, Frankie. I'm glad at least we agree on the Italian things.
Tilt my cap to that.
I just want this to please you.
This pleases me.
So 213, but why? I need you and Derek to explain this to the Irishman in the room.
Oh my God.
I don't know if we have enough time. I just give me the cliff notes.
Take the gun, or leave the gun, take the cannoli. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's true.
Understood. Go spend time with your family. I'll see you in the morning.
Bye, Frankie. I appreciate you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See, at least we agree on what matters, the Italian things.
Dagos be dagoing.
The second movie, if you haven't watched the Godfather trilogy, first of all, what are you doing? But the second movie is when everything kind of blows up. So the second movie.
The second movie, everything blows up.
So like when you watch a movie generally, you have the setting up part, right? The climax, and then you have the ending. The Godfather took basically an approach, even though it's spread across different productions and so many years, they basically took the approach of setup is the entire first movie, the climax is the entire second movie, and the closing is the entire third movie. In my opinion, that's overgeneralizing because they overlap quite a bit.
So why is 213 the order then?
Because 2 has so much action in it, and there's so many pivotal scenes that happen in movie number 2 that make that a standalone, easy-to-watch film. Number 1, if you're not a fan of the Godfather series, number 1 is inherently boring to watch because there is so much setup and understanding the family structure and all that goes into number 1 that focuses on why the Godfather is important in the first place. The second movie, The Godfather is past, no spoilers free. This movie came out eons ago, but Godfather passes away, Michael Corleone takes the throne, and it's this whole like reworking of the entire family structure that now Michael Corleone is the Godfather. So that's how this all works, and that's mostly in like the last third of the first movie to the ending of the second movie. And then number 3 is just kind of like, we want another movie, let's make one. That's why nobody likes number 3.
So 2, 1, 3 is the order.
Yeah. 2, 1, 3 is the order.
Okay. You heard it here first on Buffalo Happy Hour.
Let us know if you feel the same. If you think that order is also accurate, because I would like to know your thoughts.
So now let's pivot. Female actress girl crushes.
Number 1 right out of the gate, Kelly Kapowski.
Kelly Kapowski, the wife of Peter Burke in White Collar. White Collar's fantastic show. It's essentially, here's the full backstory on White Collar. There's a gentleman named Frank Abagnale Jr. It may sound familiar from the movie that Leonardo DiCaprio was in, Catch Me If You Can. It's a real-life person. Frank Abagnale Jr. is essentially one of the most prolific, fraudulent criminals in all of FBI history. He was a pilot. He would take credit cards. He would take checks. He would make them their own. And he flew around the world for free, right? He was arrested eventually in Paris. He was then extradited back to the U.S. by the FBI, and it was a full thing. Now, consulting, Frank Abagnale Jr. Became a consultant for the FBI in credit card theft and then check forgery, and he also has a son, and his son is now HRT, which is FBI SWAT, and it's their Tier 1 SWAT, because FBI SWAT has different tiers to it. They have a third level, a second level, and a first level. And if you're HRT, you're at their Tier 1 level. You're deploying to Middle Eastern countries during wartime. You're doing crazy things. HRT is legit. Okay, they're basically the special operations of the FBI. No big deal. Now, the reason why I know this is because a college professor that Derek and I had during college, and his son is in that realm as well and knows that. And then our professor was also down in Quantico where FBI Academy is, and Frank Abagnale spoke and then ran through the whole thing. So
it's a really fascinating story. Like the Frank Abagnale story is very fascinating.
Amazing.
And Matt Bomer does a great job in
White Collar.
White Collar.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So essentially it's a work to release program, and he is released from prison on a work to release program where he works for the FBI. He has an ankle bracelet, and he's involved in white collar crime, which in this case is art theft and forgery, and amazing show. And the FBI agent's wife is who we're talking about. Total smoke, total wife to be.
But if you know Kelly Kapowski, you don't know her from that, because that's not her real name. Her real name... Shit, what's her real name?
Look it up, bro.
Kelly Kapowski is the girlfriend of Zach Morris in the ever-popular show Saved by the Bell, which was everybody's heartthrob for people who didn't watch the super boring show Boy Meets World, and they focused primarily on Saved by the Bell. Kelly Kapowski. Tiffany Thiessen, that's her real name.
Good old Tiffany. And I can't love her too much because she shares the same first name as my sister, and that's weird. So anyways.
So what other female actors were your crushes?
Emma Watson and Rachel Bush.
Like Jordan Poyer's wife?
No.
Who's Rachel Bush?
Rachel, look her up.
It's going to come up with Jordan Poyer's wife.
It's not. Rachel Bush, actress, is not going to come up as Jordan Poyer's wife.
Well, not if I put actress at the end, Michael, because Rachel Bush isn't an actress. But if I type in Rachel Bush, the first thing that comes up is Rachel's Bush, which I don't think I want to go see. So Rachel Bush, if I type that in and I press go, the first thing that comes up is Rachel Bush, Jordan Poyer's wife. So clearly she's more important. And probably hotter.
Yo, chill. Because Rachel Bush is amazing. I'm sorry. It might
I can't even find this. Who is this?
Listen. It might be Sophia Bush.
That would make more sense.
I know that,
Who's
Derek.
Sophia Bush, actress. What was she in?
A couple different TV shows and a couple different movies.
One Tree Hill? Yeah. Okay, so it's Sophia Bush. I was going to say Rachel Bush different category.
Sophia Bush is stunning. Natural beauty. Here's the thing about me. I like traditional natural beauty. I like a woman that doesn't need makeup. They're just naturally pretty. They got good bone structure, good body, natural. There's no like lip injections. There's no fake boobs. Like just normalcy. Like small town, hometown girl, pretty. That's what I'm into. I like realistic beauty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like Rachel Bush is Jordan Poirier's wife. She's, I'm sure, gone through a couple procedures. I understand that she works out and exercises and takes care of her diet.
She's very pretty, to be honest. She's very pretty, but is she our pretty?
Correct. I like like out of the womb pretty is what I like. I don't like Rachel Bush, Kim Kardashian pretty, where it's like kind of manufactured. I like natural hometown girl pretty, where I just want to like give them a hug, say I love you, and here's, I'm gonna get deep. You want me to get deep? I'll get deep.
I don't know. We're already at an hour and 37.
I don't care about your feelings. Let me ask you something.
Okay.
When you were single and you were dating and you were talking to God and you're like, hey,
I thought you were just going to say guys, and I'm not sure where you were going with that.
God.
I don't talk to God, though.
Sounds like you problem. Did you ever sit there and say, hey, I don't care about A, B, and C. I just want D, E, and F. Like, is there a way that I can meet somebody that meets those three things? Like, I don't need this. I just want this. And hopefully, if I say it enough, if I say it loud enough, the universe responds and it comes to fruition somehow. I don't know how. I don't know when. This is what I want. This is what I actually care about. Can you just like alter my lens? Can you set things up in a way that it makes sense so that I can have this, because this is what I actually want and care about at a very deep, realistic, non-shallow level. Did you ever have those conversations with yourself?
Not with God, but with Red Bull vodka, 100%.
I'm going to be unbelievably transparent and deep. I was with exes, and you know them because we were you've been in my life. We've been together. We're contractually bound. I love you to death as a brother. I was with individuals, and there's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is because I've never broken up with an individual ever in my life. I've only been dumped. And post-breakup, I laid in bed at night, and I'm just like, listen, I got dumped, right? Like, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong.
You be talking to the big man?
Yeah. I'm laying in bed. I'm talking to the big man before I fall asleep. And I'm just like, listen, I don't care about this, and this, right? Like, I just want, if I take my wife to a bar, I don't want every dude in the bar to look at her and say, wow, I want to leave my woman and be with her. I want a natural, normal, organic, beautiful woman to me. And I want that woman to think that about herself as well, so that she has this like mutual respect of like what she's bringing to the table, what I'm bringing to the table. I want a wife. I don't want this blonde bombshell where I walk in with the Miller Lite girl from Wolf of Wall Street and I'm like, hey, like, everyone look at my trophy wife. Like, I want a real down-to-earth hometown girl that's just an absolute bro that can hang with the boys, and she's stunning to me. And if somebody else looks at her and says she's not that hot, great. Like, I don't care. Like, to me, she's everything I ever wanted. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had those late night conversations after getting dumped, and then lo and behold, I meet my now wife, who's now the mother of my child. And when I look at her, I'm like, you literally are the epitome of what I said at night for nights, multiple nights, where I'm just like, if I bring you somewhere, they're like, she's really pretty, but I respect what they have. It's not like she's not like an adult actress in like the industry no one wants to talk about hot. Like, she's not this like Victoria's Secret model. She's hometown. She's from Syracuse. Like, she's this hometown girl, normal person that's down to earth, works so goddamn hard, loves everything about her family, her home life. She doesn't want for anything. Like, she wants a normal homestead and she wants to garden. Like, that's what I want. Like, no makeup. We talked about this before. Like, no makeup. You don't need makeup. Like, if you put it on, perfect. If you don't, perfect. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, she's homesick right now. She's pregnant with our daughter. The last thing I wanted her to do was put cover up on. She doesn't. She also doesn't need it. Like, she's fine. Like, that is, and it's so hard to articulate. You know what I mean? Like, to dudes that are chasing this Miami lip injection, Botox ridden woman, or same thing as like LA or whatever. Like, it's not like, I just want a normal person that's beautiful, that's just a total bro. If I come home after 12 hours of work, I come home and I'm like, hey, what's going on? She'll look at me and she's like, what's up, bro? And she'll chest bump me. Like, that's awesome. You know what I mean? What she won't do is go in the front yard and throw the football. You know, like, 'cause she's a city girl. She's a normal, she's a girl. I struggle with that sometimes, but that's okay. Like, that's part of compromise. Like, that's what I've always wanted. Like, when you look at women like Sophia Bush or Emma Watson or Rachel Bush, like, it's a different league per se, but it's also not at the same time. Like, I don't like. What are your thoughts?
It's just different aspirations. Like, I think I speak for you too maybe, but my entire life, and I've talked to Gene about this, I have been with, how do I phrase this diplomatically? I have been with people that are not like Sophia Bush or Rachel Bush or stuff like that, because I have always, since the beginning of time, have prioritized common interests over physical appearance, because for me, physical appearance and all that stuff doesn't drive me as a person, like, to my core. I would rather relate with you on a common ground area than just be infatuated with the way that you look right now and then in 10 years maybe fall out because I don't like the way you look now. Like, I've never been that level of person. And everything that Mike and I are saying are our internal beliefs. They're not representative of all men. We're not saying that people with lip injections aren't cute. We're not generalizing here. We're just talking about our internal preferences during this episode, just to clarify that. But I've always been more on the lines of, this is a phase that I'm going through right now. Let me talk with somebody in this phase because these match my common interests. So, like, cars. I dated people that were into cars. Going out, I dated people that were into going out. Bikes.
You did date chicks that were into cars.
Yeah, bikes. I dated girls that were into bikes. Like, I have tried to be with somebody who mirrored my interests because that is what I relate more to rather than physical looks. Because luckily, I struck gold with my wife right now. We have things in common, and she's beautiful. Like, that is 100% what I believe. But I lucked out with that because I try to focus more on common interests. That way we can hold a conversation rather than what's going on today. Like, I can't do that. I need to have common interests. We need to be able to communicate, and we need to have some common ground. So that's kind of where I stand on all that. I completely am on the same page with you, with everything that you said about your wife. And it's just, I don't understand how people can be with somebody that doesn't have common interests. Because when you go back to when we first started marrying people and being with somebody, it was all about common interests. It was never about physical attraction and how tan you are. It was all about, do you have something in common with me so we can share and form our family around this common interest rather than form our family around something, I don't want to say fake because it's not fake, but I guess I just don't know how to properly articulate it because I don't live that life. But I would rather form my family around a common interest rather than not, I guess.
One of the biggest celebrations that Colleen and I always acknowledge every conversation is when we're on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
and we literally yell "same page." Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
And it's not just politically or how to raise a kid or how to, like, what we envision for the next step in our relationship or the next investment we make or whatever. It's just common ground. And when we find the common ground and when we're in sync, we acknowledge it as a victory, because at the end of the day, this is it. Like, she has me and all my imperfections. I have her and her half imperfect. That they're literally not imperfections, right? Like, it's, I don't know. I mean, I think for both of us, we have learned more from our relationships than we have from anything else, and our wives keep us in check more than really anybody between friends and family. And it's powerful, because I don't know, and it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Like, why you know what I mean? Like, I always thought I would marry a blonde. She's not, right? Like, she never thought she would marry a dude that was in the service, and here I am. Like, nothing makes sense, and this is just our life. Like, and it's, she's dealing with all of my imperfections, and I'm, she might snore when she's sick and she feels bad, and I just want to give her a hug. Like, it's so weird. It makes absolutely no sense, but it's really cool to go through it with them, because at the end of the day, if all else fails, obviously you and I are just going to be like in the room surrounded by ash, and we're just going to look around and be like, well, that didn't work.
Yeah.
How do we rebuild?
Right.
And like, your wife and my wife are going to be together, probably drinking wine and being like, well, at least we got like some sort of health insurance. You know what I mean? Like, and then you and I are like, okay, like, what do we really do? Because they're kind of leaning on us. And then our kids are going to be like crying in the corner, and our dogs are going to be like, I still love you.
Right.
Because that's what they do. So I don't know. Like, it's a really interesting dynamic, because at the end of the day, that's who we have, and that's it. Like, there's no changing it now. So it's wild, especially because both of us have completely removed any escape route. There's no exit. Like, this is it. The D word, divorce, for those that are new, doesn't exist. Like, we're going to die miserable with the same people out of principle.
Yeah.
Because that's where we come from. Like, we can't
We
divorce.
won't be miserable, Gina and Colleen. Relax.
They know that. But like, that's what we mean.
Yeah, there's no out. We're not doing that, because we're not putting our kids through that same life that our parents put us through. So it was a difficult process.
It's a difficult process, but it's also same thing as changing a main character in a movie. It changes the directory of that whole path, and it's monumental to the kids. And we, the four of us as the BHH housewives and us, have agreed to just basically never go down that route, because it's just not worth it at the end of the day. So I don't know. We're excited, but we should round up this episode. We appreciate everybody. If you're wanting to join our Patreon, feel free to join our Patreon and download the Patreon app. Please support Queen City Creative Works and Addie's. Make sure you guys are tuning in next week, because we have another fun-filled episode. But thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. And Derek, as always, thank you so much for your time and then helping me understand and appreciate all of the equipment and things behind the scenes. But drink responsibly, be a good person, and Derek,
Do not litter.
thank you, everybody. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back.